everyone.
Hello.
You know, it's not appropriate. Not inappropriate. I don't know how people will receive this, but something about Mary, the movie.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. That's what you reminded
Mhm.
me of.
Can I do it?
No, you cannot. So how are the Chiefs doing?
We finally won a game. 1-2. So not too good,
Do you think they're going to go to
of course.
the Super Bowl?
Of course.
I don't
Not
know.
just go, but win it.
I don't think this year is going to happen.
Well, we'll see.
Today's case is a doozy. You brought it up to me.
Again, this is the second one I've brought to you out of the 3.
I have some. I'm just taking yours. The next one, I don't know. I kind of want a palate cleanser. This one was rough, and I didn't include exactly everything, but it was just really hard as a mother. So it's Theresa Jimmie Francine Knorr.
Then that's Knorr.
Yes. Okay. So you brought me the case. I researched it finally, and definitely was I don't know, heartbreaking. Theresa Knorr, she was born 14 March 1946 in Sacramento, California, and she was the youngest in her family. Her father worked as an assistant cheesemaker at a local dairy, and he ended up being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and had to quit his job. I don't know, how much research did you do?
Not on the family history, but of the case, plenty.
Okay. Well, this is like, I don't know, leading kind of up to it. I did try to see if he had participated like in World War II. I could not find that information, only because what I've talked to you about that I heard on one podcast, there was research done like about people like Ted Bundy and John Wayne Gacy, the results from their fathers being in war and coming back with the whole, what we would call PTSD now. Her father, he developed depression, and reports said that he took it out on the family. And her mother had to pick up financially because he was no longer working. Her mother ended up dying of congestive heart failure in 1961. She was 15 at the time. Theresa was 15 at the time and took this very hard. According to many, she was very close to her mother. She married young at 16 to Clifford Clyde Sanders. He was 21, and they had only known each other a few months before getting married. And I could imagine with her mom dying and going through what she was going through at that age, and then quickly got married, probably just wanted to get out of the household. It didn't take long for the marriage to go south.
But what you're leaving out is Clyde was a Marine, right? Or was he in the Navy?
So no, I didn't put down what he did. She does have a husband.
Okay.
Not
I'm
this
getting ahead
one.
of myself.
You are. Theresa swore he was cheating on her. This is kind of when, shows a little bit of this like paranoia.
Yeah. There you go.
Paranoia?
Yeah.
Why does that feel like that sounds so weird? Where it starts to slowly show. 22 June 1964, she claimed Clyde punched her in the face and reported it to the police, but she refused to press charges. 6 July 1964, he spent his birthday with friends instead of family, which resulted in an argument. Allegedly, he said he was leaving her. She got angry, shot him in the back with a rifle as he was leaving, and this took his life. She was charged with murder, pled not guilty. She claimed self-defense. During the trial, she was pregnant with her second child. She had claimed he was violent, an alcoholic, and physically abusive. He had multiple family testify that none of these things were true. And the prosecutor said she was not provoked in killing Clifford's.
So you said second child. You want to go over the children's name?
So this one was a little confusing. There was one, like that book, I'll talk about that one later, but it mentioned his name. I believe total she had 6 kids, but the oldest one, so his last name
was Sanders, but when she remarried, he adopted them and changed their names.
I did not get that in my research.
So the oldest, which was
Are you sure? When I
Uh-huh.
get to the point, you'll see what I'm talking. We can talk about that
Yeah, the oldest,
because there is a mention of like an oldest, but that one, by the time all the stuff was on his own, doing his own thing.
one.
It was a boy, I
Yep.
believe.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, there's 6 children.
Okay.
Yes, 6 children.
22 September 1964, she was acquitted of this murder, which means not guilty. Theresa started drinking heavily shortly after the birth of her second child, Sheila Gay Sanders. She would mainly go to the local American Legion Hall where she met Estelle Thornsberry. He was a disabled U.S. Army veteran. And for those who may not know, American Legion is a veterans organization. The hall that serves as a community center for veterans and family, but it's open to the public. I never really understood the alcohol part though, and I know that you're
Yeah, so you just have to be a member or a guest of a member.
yeah, but
In
like
order
I
to
did.
be a member, you
Is
have
it
to be a veteran.
is it like a bar?
Yeah, it's a bar.
Because growing up, just 5 minutes from my house, there was one, but it just
Mhm.
looked like a community center. It didn't look like a bar.
Yeah, usually, most of them, not all of them, but there's a small little bar, and the beer is extremely cheap. It's nothing fancy, they don't sell it for a profit. It usually comes in a red Solo cup, and it's like $2.
Okay, makes
But there's
sense.
a book, you sign up, like I said, you gotta be a member. You can do yearly or lifetime, it's relatively cheap, or you can go as a guest, and you can get all the benefits.
How was your dad able to get in as a guest?
Yes,
Like how? Who did he?
no telling.
Okay.
A lot of the rules aren't followed.
Oh,
You
gotcha.
got money, you're a
Mm,
patron.
okay. Eventually, they moved in together, her and Estelle, but Teresa started leaving her kids alone with Estelle when she went out, like often. She would stay gone for days at a time, but the relationship came to an end when he discovered she was having an affair with his friend. But she wasted no time in getting another man, Robert Knorr. He was a private in the U.S. Marine Corps. She got pregnant. They got hit shortly after. She had 4 kids with this man: Susan, William, Robert, and Terry. She started to make claims that Robert was having an affair. They were both abusive to each other and kids from the reports that I read, but I didn't have a lot of detail. They divorced, and Teresa refused to let him see his kids, even though he tried on many occasions. I think, 1 or 2 reports I read. I think it was one saying that he chose not to see them, but I read more that she refused to let him see them.
Yeah, so he just went and started his own family. He remarried, new kids, and
Hmm.
became a father to them.
Yeah, later in there, I have that in there too. According to Wikipedia, she got married 2 more times after that. But I think the last one, it's not confirmed if they actually got married or not. They just said so. The next husband was Ronald Pullum. She also left the kids with him and would go drinking. He was convinced she was cheating and ended up divorcing her. Chester Chet Harris was her last husband. She got jealous of how close Susan and him were getting, and she ended up leaving him when he was taking consensual nude photographs of women. I don't really know much about that except that.
Yeah, I didn't even hear that or read that.
I don't think you read. I think you just listened and watched.
No, no, I read
What'd you read?
articles
What articles?
published.
Okay. In an interview, William Knorr talks to Investigation Discovery on their series called Evil Lies Here. Did you watch that?
I did.
How'd you watch it? Did
You
you watch the one I picked?
No, you too. It was a real shitty version, but
Okay. He said that his mother, Teresa, ruined all of them. Either all the kids are broken or dead. She told him she didn't want any of them, so she was stuck with them. He said the abuse didn't start until his father, Robert Knorr, had started a new family. So that's when she started losing her rocker. The kids had no place to go and no contact with their father. Beatings were a part of growing up.
yeah, but
He-
they thought this was completely normal
yeah,
because
that's.
she kept them sheltered from the outdoor life. I seen might have been on that same one, but later on in life, he ended up getting a job at the movie theater,
Mhm.
and he would either walk to work
Mhm.
walk home or catch a ride,
Mhm.
and she would drive past multiple times to make sure he was
Mhm.
going to work, not offer a ride,
Mhm.
but just to make sure that he was doing what he was supposed to be doing.
Mhm. Yeah, because she wanted that money, because she wasn't gonna work.
Yeah. Well, and make sure you had no contact.
It was in that episode.
Mm.
Um, fuck. She physically, verbally, and psychologically abused her children. It escalated more after her fourth divorce. William recalled a time where one day she sent all the kids to their room in the middle of the day. They were not allowed to talk, but had to sit in the middle of the bed. William and Robert Jr. were sitting quietly on their beds when Theresa came bursting in their room, yelling at them to stop laughing at her. Real quick, guys, sorry for the interruption. Little technical difficulties. We'll get right back. So the boys were confused because they weren't making a sound. Theresa then made Robert, Sheila, and Susan hold down William, beat him. And when she was satisfied he wasn't laughing anymore and he started to cry, she said, "There, now you aren't laughing at me." And he had to stay in the room for the rest of the night.
Yeah, and like whenever she would beat the children, she would have all the children hold them down, and if they were to get loose, then they would get it.
Mm-hmm. What? I didn't mean to make that noise. Sorry, I'm drinking my tea because I'm cold.
Uh, use this time to talk about the board, because that's what it was getting beat with.
Mm-hmm. You can, and then when I get to that part, I'll just go around it.
Okay, so it said it was a board that was found at a construction site, and one end was taped as like a handle.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes she would use leather gloves when she held it to give her a better grip.
Mm-hmm.
But some sources, it was called the Board of Education.
Mm-hmm.
And some I've seen, it was called the Board of Destruction.
Oh, I did not find that one.
Yeah.
Is that what you heard today?
Yep.
What source was that? Do you not remember? The Board of Destruction? The fuck? So William said at one point or another, all siblings were forced to hold each other down. Oh, like you said, if any of them lost their grip, they were immediately beaten too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Around this time, Theresa had become reclusive. She never wanted to leave the house, gained a lot of weight, and never let the kids have friends over. Reports came from neighbors that her apartment reeked of urine and was filthy. The neighbors also noticed the children were never outside, and if they did see them, they were fearful, nervous, and high strung. She tortured them in many different ways, not just by the board. So, beating them, obviously, force feeding them, burning them with a cigarette, and throwing knives.
At one time, she stabbed him in the back with scissors.
I did not. Which William?
Which
child? Yeah.
I don't want to give it away, but one of the older girls.
I bet you it was one of the. That's so sad. According to Terry, who is the youngest, the board that she did beat them with was 3 feet long, inch thick, half-inch thick, and 1.5 inches wide. When she would beat them, she would tell them she loved them, and if she didn't love them, she wouldn't even bother. William said at a certain point, you internalize it. This is what love is. Love is controlling, beating. They didn't know other families weren't like this. He recalls one night in the middle of the night, she got all the kids up, had them all sit in the living room. She thought they all had been faking being asleep, had all of them sit facing away from her. They were not allowed to look at her. They couldn't fall asleep and had to stay awake. If anyone started to fall asleep, they got hit with the board. They were even hit if they slightly moved. When the sun was up, she let them get up and said, the demons had left us. I know nobody was around to witness this and the children didn't know otherwise. Mm-hmm. That just sounds like schizophrenia to me.
Mm-hmm. I was listening to this one doctor that said that she showed a lot of traits of borderline personality disorder. And it was from trauma at a young age. When she was 14, her mother died in her arms.
And then she got married shortly after at 16. That was traumatic for her because she was very close to her mother. Here's one of the knife situations. One night she came home drunk. William remembers his mother constantly going to bars, trying to have relationships, and so she always came home drunk. So the one night she came home drunk, he remembers she got very excited to show the kids a trick she learned from a guy at the bar. So this guy was good at throwing knives, and she thought she could do the same. She had William stand against the wall, threw the knife, and thankfully it missed. She did it again with Sheila, but this time it hit her arm, and then the knife fell out. Sheila started to bleed immediately, and Theresa blamed Sheila and said she moved. It was her fault.
Yeah, like she did it on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she was older, or sorry, when the kids were older, she left them at home, went out and drink. But when they were younger, the kids said they can remember all getting loaded in the station wagon, going to the bar, and having to stay in the car while she drank. And some nights she was so, I think the word they used, blasted, that she would just pass out in the car, and they would have to wait till she woke up before they went home.
That is crazy. That's crazy because in all the articles I read, her ex-husbands or boyfriends ended up being the ones having to watch. So this must be in between each man when she didn't have one, which it seemed like she moved on pretty quickly after each one. That is insane. I don't know how, I mean, I guess CPS wasn't really that big of a thing back then, but Jesus, you would have felt like somebody would have called. Well, I mean, they did once, but
neighbors did call.
we haven't gotten there yet. We're about to.
Well, outside of that, neighbors called often.
Where did you get, because this was the last time we talked about this, none of this was there, and I didn't get any of that.
I got news sources today.
Oh, okay. Look at you.
But you'll cover it more in depth here in a little bit. But California law at the time only required them to keep records for 5 years.
Yes.
So there's no history. Or if they're really busy and they'll say, we'll get to it, and they never get to it.
I meant to ask our family member if that's the same in Tennessee, or if that's a common thing, or maybe they might have changed things, because there is one story that is popular.
You can do it.
Hold on, why does my brain do this? It is often covered by a lot of true crime podcast YouTubers. It's his dad, who I don't think they could ever prove that murdered his wife, but they went camping in the middle of the night, and his boys were with him, and then somehow, I don't know how it happened, where he didn't have custody. I think the grandparents from the mom's side had custody, and he could get visitation. And one day when he had visitation, he locked the CPS worker out of the house. And
set the house on fire.
Yeah. So I'm sure, and I think that was in California or Utah, but yeah, they've got to have changed.
I mean, we have computers now. I think this was early 80s. So now everything's in a database and easily.
After the knife fell out of Sheila, Theresa did close up the wound and sanitize it, and William said that was the only motherly gesture she did towards the kids. When that statement said, I can only imagine when she would do stuff like that and it went too far. Like, it wasn't just a one-time thing. Every time she would take care of the wound.
Yeah, and I've seen that in the interview video with William. He said that was the only time.
Most of Theresa's anger and abuse was starting to be focused on the two older sisters, Sheila and Susan. Terry made a statement that her mother was jealous of her sisters because they were blossoming into beautiful young women while her mother was losing her looks as she aged. One time, Susan ran away from home after Theresa beat her, thinking she was a witch. Susan was picked up by police, placed into a psychiatric hospital. This is from Wikipedia. I did not hear this in the interviews or read this in the newspaper. And we said this outside of this, that it seems some sources are a little conflicting. So it is hard to say some things, what is actually true. William said Susan ran away while he was doing his paper route. Theresa asked where she was and freaked out when no one knew. He said that Susan was very bright and that scared his mother. CPS showed up one day because Susan had told them about the abuse. Each kid was interviewed, but their mom was allowed to be in the room the whole time. William said, said what she wanted you to say or you would get beat again. At the end of the investigation, CPS concluded Susan was just a runaway who didn't want to stay home. The Star Tribune on 15 November 1993 reported that when county officials were questioned, they were unable to discuss the case because, like you said, records are destroyed after 5 years. I should have looked that up to see if they still do that to this day. But, like you also said, computers weren't around. So maybe there's not, maybe they're like stored away deep into some files and closed or something.
Mm-hmm.
But Theresa denied any of Susan's claims, and once Susan was back in her care, she had other children help beat Susan. William commented that it was a harsh realization, but he and his siblings had failed Susan. He feels that if Susan had just ran away and stayed gone, it would have been very different. Theresa then handcuffed Susan to the kitchen table where she would remain for the next 2 years. Socks were placed over her hands so it reduced marks. Susan was gagged. William said that it was under very heavy restrictions that the gag ever came out.
Yeah, I also read that she was handcuffed during the day to the table, but then she was handcuffed to her bed at night. So they did move her back and forth, so she's not just hanging out on the kitchen floor all day.
If she had to sleep on the floor in the kitchen.
And she was also blindfolded.
For 2 years?
Yes. And the rare occasions that she was not blindfolded or gagged or whatever, she was like in the kitchen. She had to like stand in the kitchen with her back facing them.
Did any of the sources state on being blindfolded for that long if it affected her vision? Periodically, Susan was allowed to get up due to pressure sores and being force fed. So that when she was being let up, that's probably what that let up was, is standing with her back. Like, it doesn't go into detail what that was, but now that you said that. When Susan was force fed, if she was full, Theresa made her eat more. Theresa would take 4 boxes of macaroni and cheese and big chunks of lard, mix them together, and expect Susan to eat it. If Susan was to throw up, Theresa made her eat it. And that just makes me so nauseous thinking about that. As a mother, I just keep going, like reading this, and it's going in my head, and I just cannot imagine it. Like, your children, like the love that I have for my children, I cannot understand it. All the children, minus the oldest who had already moved out, were pulled out of school. She pulled them out one by one and would tell the school the kids were moving. Most of them never went past 8th grade. The children were then secluded from the outside world. William had to get a job at a movie theater to bring home money because his mother didn't work. Theresa used to drive next to him on his way to work just to make sure he went, but each time she never gave him a ride. There is a chance this was already said by you earlier.
But yeah, she would just drive past him, follow him for a good bit just to make sure he went straight to work.
Yeah, I think it is in there because I said, gotta get that money, because that's literally what I want to say again. One morning, shit hit the fan. Theresa started losing it. I mean, if she wasn't already, she lost it more. Susan was uncuffed, and Theresa instructed Terry to hold a gun. William said it was a .22 pistol at Susan. If Susan was to move, Terry was to shoot her sister. Theresa brought William down the hall to make oatmeal. The oatmeal ended up banging against each other in their bowls. Terry heard the loud noise from the kitchen, got scared, and accidentally pulled the trigger and ends up shooting Susan. Theresa makes Robert and William pick Susan up and put her in the bathtub. At the time, she was out and not making any sounds. Theresa was more concerned about the blood on the carpet. She kept Susan in the bathtub while she nursed her daughter back to health, but William doesn't believe she gave her any pain relievers or tried to get the bullet out. Ironically, Susan did end up surviving.
Yeah, the shot ended up going under her left breast from the front, kind of, from the side, and lodging in her back.
Terry's interview with Cold Case Files, she says her mother shot Susan, never mentions media mentioning that she shot her.
Well, I'm sure it was a traumatic event. That's the way she wants to remember it.
Hmm. Or probably in her mind is the only way she remembers it. She blocked it out.
Hmm.
The day it happened, her mother was wearing a big dress with pockets. This is her recount of everything. Pulls out a gun and shoots her. Susan made a gasp and slid down the door frame and fell into the bathtub. How can you fall down the door frame and fall into the bathtub when obviously there's a sink commode
Hmm.
in between? Maybe Terry was trying to remember it in a different way, they said. Once she could get out of the bathtub, Theresa handcuffed Susan back to the table. According to William, he thinks she was in the bathtub for about a month. Susan couldn't take it anymore and started to beg her mother to leave. She said she wouldn't go to the police, and that she would just disappear. Theresa had finally agreed on one condition: the bullet has to come out. William claimed his mother said, "It was evidence and I'm not letting you walk out of here." Theresa gets the bullet out while Susan was unconscious. Terry said that her mother had given Susan about half a gallon of Old Crow, which is some sort of whiskey, and it ended up knocking Susan out. Theresa uses an X-Acto knife, according to Terry. When her mother got the bullet out, Theresa flushed it down the toilet. William gets home from work to find his sister Susan on the floor and out of it with bandages on her. Here's just reading that now.
Hmm.
He said his mother said, "It's evidence and I'm not letting you walk out of here." So was he not there? Like, when was this set? Just trying to think of that. That seems a little conflicting because it seems like if I said that, well, I would never do that. But like if she said that, it would be immediately after that. I'm cutting it out. Would you not think so?
I think they all have some sort of trauma and tend to probably blacked out a lot of that of their past.
Mm-hmm. William said that Terry was shaken and Robert wasn't doing great. He believed Susan went into some sort of shock and passed out. Terry remembers that Susan would mumble incoherently. Her eyes and skin had turned yellow. Theresa said the yellow jaundice was the demon in Susan and it finally took over her body. It was the mark of the devil. She told them that the only way to purge the demon out of Susan's body was to set it on fire. Susan remained unconscious and on the floor for what felt like several weeks to William. He said one day he came home from work and Susan wasn't on the floor anymore. His mother said they were going to drop Susan off and to gather up her stuff. William and Robert were instructed to put the items in the car and found Susan already in the trunk. He was told Susan was already dead and that she died on the floor. He regrets never checking to see if she was actually dead. No questions were asked. Theresa, William, and Robert got in the car. William thinks back on that night. They started driving to a wooded area. William said no one was talking. It's dark and his mother finds a place that is slightly from the highway. It was in Squaw Valley, half-mile from the entrance to Lake Tahoe Ski Resort, according to the Berkshire Eagle. Theresa tells the boys to get everything out of the trunk, including Susan. The boys do what they are told. Susan pulls the gun out on them, tells them to put gas on everything. The boys put gas only on Susan's belongings. The mother then cocks the gun and says, "I said everything." William said it wasn't like we had a choice. He feels that she would have shot either of them. The Berkshire Eagle said that Susan was placed on top of her clothes and that her mouth was taped shut. Theresa throws matches to William, holding the gun, and said, "You light them." He felt his mother had him do it because then she could say, "You were the one that did it." He lit the match and dropped it. In his mind, he didn't believe his sister was alive. She was already dead. William felt some sort of relief that Susan wasn't going to be tortured anymore. Her name was never allowed to be mentioned again.
Yeah, she tossed him the book of matches and apparently went and just sat in the car and waited for them to do it. And then when they got in the car, something along the lines of, "Now you can't tell anybody because you're the one that did it."
Mm-hmm. When Susan's body was found, it was still smoking. The word actually used in description was smoldering. Sergeant Steve Frick sees smoke in the distance. Two motorists direct him to the remains. He said it appeared one of her legs burned off, resting beside her. Detective John Adams was called to the scene. They both observed duct tape over her mouth and hands. Due to how close her body was to the road, they could tell it was just the dump site. Her hands were so badly burned they could not get fingerprints, and half her face was destroyed. Her body could not be identified due to the condition. She was classified as homicide case Jane Doe number 4873/84. She was only 17 years old. The coroner's examination showed that she had multiple stab wounds in her back and that she was alive when she was set on fire. She would remain a Jane Doe for the next 10 years.
Yeah, so the multiple stab wounds go back to what I was telling you with the scissors.
That was
Yeah,
thinking that as I read that.
and that's where that came from. But what it also did is it spurred up another big deal because they found burnt diapers and diapers because whenever she would go from the bedroom to the table, they didn't let her use the bathroom, so she had to wear diapers, and they didn't change the diapers unless it just got too smelly. So that was part of her belongings that they gathered up. So whenever the police and the crime scene folks got there, they found the diapers. So their immediate thought was there was this young mom that was kidnapped and killed, and now there's a child kidnapping.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you keep saying they wouldn't let her go to the bathroom, but we really know who did let them. I mean, obviously.
Well, the brother, the oldest one at the house, what's his name? William?
No, he, I believe, is the second oldest because his dad's different than the oldest.
Yeah, no, that's the oldest that's still in the house. Is William.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, he, I think he went by Billy Bob.
I did not know that.
So Billy Bob took kind of the parent role. He also would wield the stick of or the board of destruction, and he would discipline them.
Wasn't he forced to? Like, if he didn't be that, yeah.
He was kind of forced into that.
So after all this, Theresa's abuse shifted to Sheila now that Susan was dead. Sheila was 20 years old at this time. Theresa forced her daughter into prostitution in May of 1985 in order to support the family. Theresa still was not working and was receiving unemployment benefits from the state of California. She really relied on the kids to bring in a lot of the income. She refused to work.
Which is crazy because growing up, she didn't let them hang out with friends outside of school. She always kept a close grip on them because she didn't want them to do promiscuous things. And now she's having them work the streets.
Theresa's paranoia gets worse. She begins to accuse Sheila of getting pregnant and contracting an STD. Theresa believes Sheila gave her the STD from the toilet seat. William remembers walking in on his mother beating Sheila and asked her, "Are you trying to kill her too?" He told her to get it over with and stop beating Sheila. Theresa tried to put it on William, but he defended himself to his mother and told her, "You will never touch me again." He didn't go to police or CPS. He didn't want to be forced back home like Susan. Not long after Sheila started getting the majority of the abuse, he got out of the house and moved in with a friend. Theresa beat Sheila when she denied the accusations of being pregnant and having an STD. Sheila was then hogtied and locked in a tiny closet with no ventilation. Theresa wouldn't let other kids give Sheila any food or water or open the door. Periodically, Terry would sneak and give Sheila beer. She was hoping that the beer would help Sheila confess to the accusations that her mother made against her. Sheila finally confessed to being pregnant, but Theresa didn't believe her and didn't let her out of the closet. The last thing Terry remembers was her sister mumbling about crawling towards the light at the top of the roof. 21 June 1985, Sheila dies, just 3 days later of dehydration and starvation. Her body was left in the closet for another 3 days, and Terry remembers a horrible smell from the closet and in the house. Robert went to get William and told him, "Mom needs you. You don't want her to come get you." When William walked in the house, he asked her, "You wanted me to see you?" His mother said, "You are responsible for this." She said, "We had to put Sheila in the closet after you had left to shut her up. When his mother opened the closet door, Sheila was dead." What William was told from Robert was that Sheila begged and cried to get out, said she started saying things that didn't make sense, and then no sounds. William again felt like he failed another sister, but realized there is nothing he could have done. Theresa told Robert and William to get to help dispose of their sister's body. At this point, the apartment was filled with the smell of a decomposed body. Sheila was placed into a cardboard box and taped shut. In Terry's interview, she said William brought it home from the movie theater that he worked.
Yeah, that's how they were able to kind of substantiate her story, because the inside labeling of it was like the cups that the movie theater would order from, and they were able to trace it back
I
to
think it
the
was
movie
on.
theater
I think it was on the outside.
outside.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they traced it back and said, "Yep, this is all lining up."
When they were disposing Sheila's body, they went to the same spot as Susan, but as soon as the boys got out, a police officer showed up and told them they needed to get out of here. The boys got into the car and their mother drove them to another county. They disposed of Sheila's body near the Truckee-Tahoe airport. When Sheila was discovered, she also couldn't be identified and also was classified as a Jane Doe, number 6607-85.
Yes, but shortly after that, there was a serial killer spree.
Oh.
I forgot the name of it, but it was like 10 people that were killed, and they ended up pinning her death on the serial killer to get the case closed out because of a supposed DNA match, some carpet fibers or something in there that matched one of his other victims. They ended up chalking it up to that until Terry came out with the information.
Mm-hmm. That's so strange because that was not even said in any of the interviews with the police officers that I saw.
Of course not.
They didn't want to admit to a mistake they made. William's mother told him that you are as guilty as I am, that he did this. After they dumped Sheila, Terry was ordered to clean up the closet. Theresa didn't ask. She beat Terry and made her do it. Terry remembers pieces of her sister's face on the floor with blood. Even though the closet was clean, the smell of death remained. Theresa started getting concerned that the smell of decomp and physical evidence would incriminate her. 29 September 1986, she took out all the family's things and ordered Terry to burn down the apartment. 3 containers of lighter fluid were dumped on the apartment floor and set on fire. Too bad for Theresa. Neighbors reported the fire pretty quickly and before this fire spread. But the closet that housed Sheila was not damaged. November 1993, the police obtained a search warrant, but the apartment had new occupants at the time. The subfloor was removed out of the closet for testing. Tests were to determine if the blood was from a human body, but I could not find any information on the results.
Didn't come across it either.
Sheila's body was found in Martis Creek Lake, I believe a year later. Husband and wife were dropping their fishing line and found a box. Deputy Liz Rakup said you could see an arm in this 2x2 box covered with tape. She described the body as dark color and covered in maggots. In the box were some sheets, maybe a towel and a pillowcase. Only clue was what you said was the label for popcorn cups, right? Or did you say?
I don't know if it was popcorn cups or not. I just know it said cups.
Enough to identify that it came from a movie theater.
Well, they didn't identify it right away. It was just something there. It wasn't later until Terry's story.
Mm-hmm.
They were able to investigate it and put 2 and 2 together.
They were able to get fingerprints, but no hits in the system. 2 weeks go by and no reports of a missing woman. Theresa left the area shortly after dumping Sheila's body. William moved out on his own. Robert Jr. was the only one to stay with her. Terry moved out on her own at 16, possibly 15. Terry used Sheila's ID to pass herself off as an adult.
Yeah, so that she can get into the adult establishments to turn her tricks.
Not that it's okay, but the trauma she's already experienced in her mind, it's just like, this is the only way I can make money. She had to obviously support herself. Robert Jr. ended up finding trouble with the law. He landed himself in prison after fatally shooting a bartender in attempted robbery. He got 16 years in prison. After he was arrested, Theresa moved to Salt Lake City, Utah. Here are some of Terry's recount of living with Theresa. Terry said that all the children lived in fear of their mother and felt like they had to walk on eggshells. She remembers one time her mother had to go to her school during 3rd grade for a parent-teacher conference. Terry ran up to her mom, telling her, "I love you." Theresa says, "Yeah, I love you too." When they got home, Theresa locked her in the deep freezer because Theresa said Terry had been telling the teacher that her mother had been hitting her. Terry never said anything. Another memory she has was when a neighbor had noticed that Terry was wearing worn down clothes. She dropped off some secondhand clothes as charity. This made Theresa angry and stripped Terry butt naked, took a rope, put it around Terry's neck, hung it over the door, and beat her. Theresa was claiming that Terry was going around the neighborhood telling them they didn't have enough, and that's why the neighbors brought clothes. Over time, Terry tried to report her sister's murders to the Utah police, but the police didn't believe her. Even her therapist didn't believe her. She called into America's Most Wanted hotline in October 1993 after watching an episode and was told to contact detectives in Placer County, California. There was an episode about
the sister who was burned.
I thought when they did America's Most Wanted, they knew who they were looking for and they would show, we're looking for
If I
this
remember,
person.
some of them they talked about the case or gave example and said if you know anything about this or if you've heard anybody talk about it.
It's been such a long time since I've seen those episodes.
Yeah. So when she contacted Placer County, the detective that she was finally linked up to, flew out immediately to do a face-to-face interview because she was recounting a lot of the things that was never published and never made public. She knew exactly as far as like the stab wounds, the long cut in the back from removing the bullet, the diapers. There's a lot of stuff that she was just hitting the nail on the head.
When she was giving her information, the sergeant said you could hear a sigh of relief because no one had believed her before. He contacted Sergeant Fitzgerald of Placer County, who knew exactly the Jane Doe. So they're finally getting some connections going on. Unfortunately, Placer County didn't preserve anything from the burned corpse and could not forensically confirm it was Susan. Terry's story of the laceration, like you said, matched the wound of Jane Doe, and she was able to describe 2 pieces of jewelry that belonged to Susan. The fingerprint from one of the trash bags was ran against their brother Robert. It was a match. I know people who are well, I don't know them personally, but like when we watch documentaries about cold case stuff, they're constantly re-looking at cases. So it's surprising to me over 10 years because he was arrested shortly after moving out or moving on or whatever. I'm assuming shortly. You would think they would have ran some fingerprints and his would have popped up.
Yeah, well, that's more current time because it's a database and you can just click a button and run. This was back in the day when it was on cards.
Well, in the 90s, the computers weren't that good. Don't you remember dial-up? Sheriff Donald J. Nunes from Placer County stated that Terry's descriptions are so detailed that this case would have been solved a long time ago. A simple computer check would have turned up the report of the identified bodies, but like you said, technology wasn't the same and it was more advanced over time. So Terry was asked about the box Sheila was found in. What details could she remember? She said, I believe it was 32-ounce cold cups. So this says cold cups for my notes compared to the popcorn cups. She told the detectives it was the only one big enough William could find that maybe her sister would fit in. When he got the box, he had to have known she was dead. Like if he...
Well, it was afterwards whenever the mom called him and said,
yeah, but he said when he came home, he found... And that's when she said it to him, not on the phone. I don't know. There's just the conflicting... No matter what, he got the box, brought it home. Sheila's body was put into it. Terry also described her sister as having broken front teeth from being force-fed. The detectives were able to confirm that Jane Doe had broken teeth from the autopsy. Warrants were then issued for her brothers. The detectives were hoping the brothers would turn against each other. They both were considered to be accomplices in the murder. William Knorr was arrested for November 1993. Robert Knorr Jr. was already in prison during his 16-year sentence and was charged with his sister's murders. To November 1993, Theresa was arrested in Salt Lake City. She was going by her maiden name Cross at the time, and she was working at as her landlord's elderly mother's caregiver.
So here's a crazy fun fact. Terry When she became an adult and got off the street, she got married and also lived in Salt Lake City. She worked as a cashier at a grocery store in the same neighborhood that her mom lived in. And the one person she wanted to get away from.
When William was interviewed by detectives, he claimed he didn't know Susan was shot. He was just told that his sister was very sick and had to take a ride with his sister into the mountains. Eventually, they pull over and his mother demands they get out, get his sister out to get the gas out. Theresa hands him matches, threw gasoline all over the place and all over Susan. She tells him she is going to run back to the car and you light a match and drop it and run. And he did. He said that a year later, he was with Sheila already dead and in the box.
Yeah, it's that trauma. Leave a little bit out.
It's just, it is. And that, from the interview, they're probably also, and then 10 years later, and then I think when his interview with the television show was even later than that, because he's in mid 40s, he looks like. They pull over down Highway 80 as he starts to get the box out, which was smelling of decomp. A cop shows up and pulls over. Cop wants to know what they are doing. His mother says the boys needed to go to the bathroom. The cop says you are not allowed to be here and to go back where you are going. The boys got back in the car, turned around, and continued down the highway. And then they ended up at Martis Creek and dumped her body among the weeds. William was asked why he didn't call the police, and he said that they lived in fear of his mother. She had told them, if you don't help me here or else, I'm going to come down and kill you. And he believed that she would have killed him. 15 November 1993, Theresa was charged with 2 counts murder, 2 counts conspiracy to commit murder, and 2 special circumstances charges, multiple and murder by torture. She pleaded not guilty, but when she heard her sons were going to testify against her, she pleaded guilty as long as she was spared the death penalty. Theresa did get evaluated by a psychiatrist in preparation for the trial. The psychiatrist asked her if she was aware of what she was being charged with. Theresa says no. The doctor says, well, I'm telling you now. I'm apparently the first to inform you and that you're charged with 2 counts of murder. What is your reaction? She stated disbelief. When asked, she said, did she know who was being charged with having murdered? Like who she murdered. Did you see the interview she gave?
No, I didn't watch any of hers.
It's not a long one that they show, or at least what I found. You can just tell she's faking it. Like, what? No, I didn't. What? Maybe she's trying to play crazy so she doesn't get convicted. When she was asked, do you know who you have murdered? Theresa says, no, I do not. I don't. You seem awful strange to me. I watched her say that. I mean, I'm a mom. If my kid was to say that, I'd be like, you're fucking lying. Theresa was assigned an attorney, Assistant Public Defender D. Mikey Sampson. He said it appeared that she had already been tried and convicted by the media. I know sometime in your career as an attorney, especially when you're doing around this kind of genre, you have to defend the guilty. And sometimes people are not guilty. I'm not an attorney. I didn't go to school. I would have a really hard time defending someone like this. I'm like, no, you're gonna have to plead guilty here. You deserve to be locked up. 17 October 1994, Knorr was sentenced to 2 life sentences. July 2019, Theresa had a parole hearing but was denied release. She is currently at the California Institution for William in Chino, California. She still claims her innocence to this day.
And the one son who was serving his 16-year sentence, and he ended up getting 3 years added to his sentence to be served concurrently for accessory after the fact. Well, he'd done his time and he was released. He's now back in prison in 2016 for child pornography.
William Knorr, he was sentenced to probation in order to go to therapy for participating in his sister's murders. From his interview, he looks like he's doing okay.
Trying to be a contributing member of society.
Harry afterwards, like you had said, married, but she actually married twice. I don't know if she got divorced the second time. I think she might have, but that doesn't matter. She ended up dying young at 41 for heart failure. Thinking about her grandmother, had to have been genetic. But she was a bigger woman, too. I mean, she wasn't huge, but she was overweight.
Well, she had a hard life.
Rosemary Norris. This wasn't said before.
Yeah, Teresa's sister.
Yes. Her case was reopened after Theresa was arrested. Rosemary was strangled to death after she went shopping. There were no leads to her murder. This was in 1983 in Placer County. But police determined Theresa wasn't involved and it remains a cold case today. I don't know if I believe that one.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
There is a movie that was made based off this story.
There's a couple loosely based off this story.
The Afflicted. It's based off it, but not accurate. It follows the life events in a compressed timeline. But in the end, the youngest daughter kills her mother.
And one of the brothers ended up committing suicide.
Correct. Wow. There's a song that the second verse references the abuse of Knorr's daughters. It's a form of folk pop, and the artist was Nicole Dollanganger. The song is called In the Land. I did not listen to it. I don't know if it was good or not, and I don't think I would have.
I doubt it.
You, in the last episode with, Gregory Hoogley, you said there was a song and it was pretty good. That was, I don't know if it was on Anthony Todd Boyd or if it was about the case, but you were like,
yeah,
there was a song made, and I was like, I did not know that. And you were like, yeah, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it was on YouTube.
Your words. So you're thinking this one.
Yeah, but it wasn't made by Doppelganger.
Oh my goodness. She's going to sue you for saying that.
It's good. Get my name out there.
Theresa Knorr, it says 79 years old. She was born in the 60s. She's not 79 years old unless they got the wrong. We're going to look that up real quick. Hold on. Do some Twilight music. Theresa Knorr. Oh, she's 1946.
Yeah.
It was in the 60s she got married.
Yeah, she's 79 as of now.
I bet you people are listening to this. And I even made a TikTok video to promote this saying we're getting better. And then I feel like backtrack. So she is almost 80. William was interviewed and broadcasted on television with Evil Lies Here. It's on Amazon Prime. I did pay to watch it. Apparently you watched the crappy version on YouTube. I think that was stated earlier.
Yeah, I did.
And I wish I had Google. I didn't even think about it. I was just like, well, one of our children was doing sports. I sat there and tried to find stuff to watch to pass time. And then Terry was interviewed on Cold Case Files, and it's called Mommy's Rules. I watched it on Philo streaming services with their 7-day free trial. I don't know if there's other places. Did you watch that also, a crappy version on YouTube?
No, I listened to it through the Cold Case Files podcast.
Oh, okay. I will say, and I told you this, that I'm not going to, for right now, unless my mind changes, I'm not listening to any podcast that covers anything because I don't want them thinking that I took any of their information without doing my own research. There is a book called Whatever Mother Says, A True Story of a Mother Madness and Murder by Wensley Clarkson. I was not a fan of the beginning part of what I read. I did pay for it. And after reading a few chapters, I quit reading it, and I felt like there was a lot of inconsistencies. Even though the author does provide some police reports or what looks like a police report. So I was thinking, okay, this has got to be legit. But a lot of his stuff did not match what I was reading. And I know we had already said a couple of times, some sources, their information didn't match entirely, but his just seemed like very fluffed up to be kind of entertaining.
Well, yeah, I had to write a book.
Yeah. I don't know. His book wasn't very, don't come after me.
Get her name on there.
I have to do audiobooks. So when I sit here and read newspaper articles and other websites and stuff like that, I really hope people do appreciate my research because it takes time. Well, that's all of that. The worst mother on the planet so far.
Be sure to check us out. We're on all major platforms now.
Except for Amazon.
We're submitted. You just got to follow up on it.
You also need to check YouTube podcast to make
Fixed
sure
it.
it's done. It's fixed.
Yep, it is fixed. Like, subscribe, follow, all that good
Please.
stuff.
Well, okay. So we're on Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. You can also go to our website, jadamayhem.com. It's on there where they could just click.
It is. There's a tab that says episodes, and all the episodes will be uploaded there also.
We have an Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. The Instagram is like jaded_mayhem_podcast. So if there would be eventually down the road someone to make a copy, that is ours. TikTok is jaded.mayhem.podc. I think is the very last part of it. It's because podcast was too long. And Facebook is, I think, just the Jaded Mayhem podcast. Our email, if you have any suggestions or want to fact check us and tell us what we were wrong on, thejury@jadedmayhem.com. So THEJURY. Appreciate any feedback. Currently, I don't know if you saw on Spotify, we have 2 5-star ratings.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty sure we know those people. But yeah, follow us on what you can follow or what you want to follow us on. Appreciate your support. Down the road, I'll be announcing some kind of giveaway we'll be doing. But all right, well, peace out, homies.
All right, bye.
See you on the flip side.